Welcome to Rainbow Soul Vodcast, where our Soulstrology comes forward to help you manage your everyday life, with forecasts and deep dives on natal charts and queer perspectives on the planets, transits, and more. A group discussion about upcoming transits with tips on how to read these transits in your own chart. Hollis offers years of wisdom and natal chart knowledge with Bright Hawk's positive perspective and LeKross's inquiry. We offer the complete queer astrology experience. Welcome to Rainbow Soul. Please help us by subscribing, sharing, and commenting and reviewing. You can also learn where else Rainbow Soul is offered on our website at RainbowSoul.show.
Welcome everyone to Rainbow Soul Soulstrology Forecast. We're so glad you're here with us today. And I want to welcome, I'm Hollis Taylor, and I am a psychic, an astrologer, and, well, an interesting person to say the least. And you could definitely get mentorship from me or get a reading from me at divineandrogen.com. And
I am Bright Hawk. I am an storybook author of the children's book, The Dancing Hippo. I'm a musician, play the handpan, among many percussion. And if you want to find out more about me, you can find out about me at brighthawkproductions.com. And
I'm LeKross, jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah, I don't have much. Well, my book just came out. It's actually the color journal. So I do have a color journal out there on Amazon.
That's for learning their tarot, right?
Yeah, for learning tarot. That goes through the fool's journey. So yeah, just finished that up and working on the wands, cups, pentacles. And what was the last one? Jeez, I can't remember.
Swords.
Swords. Okay, yeah, I'm here. Yeah, and that's me, professional student.
Yeah, what an awesome book. And we'll definitely add that to the description so that they can get a hold of your book. Yeah. So friends, I thought we would take a minute to ground and center ourselves. Take a minute, wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, and take a deep breath. When you breathe out, just kind of let it all go. And you might need to do that more than once, you know. And I want you to realize that because we exist on this sacred planet we call Earth, we are currently in the darkest of times. And it will continue to get dark until we get to the winter solstice, when finally the light will return. But for now, we're in the dark. So I want to invite you to allow all of the parts of you that maybe sometimes you're not real keen to talk about, or you're ashamed of, or aren't really the best part of you. And I want you to just kind of build a shadow self in front of you with your eyes closed. And just look at that shadow self, and you can add little words on it or whatever symbolization you need to use for yourself, for those parts of you that you're not real great to think about. Parts that you might be ashamed of or might make you sick to your belly. I just want you to bring all that stuff up into your shadow self. And it's all there before you. Now just put your hand on your heart and feel that energy flow through your hand, like healing energy into your heart. And I want you to soften your heart for your shadow self. I don't want you to judge it. Let all the judgment go. Put that over there on the shadow self and let it go and stop judging it now. And instead, look at your shadow self with the softest heart you can, with compassion and love and understanding that we're all just human beings walking on planet Earth. No one is perfect. Each and every one of us has a shadow self. And as your heart softens for yourself, for those shadow parts of ourselves, just smile and recognize that you too are not perfect, and that's okay. Take a deep breath. Let it all go. Let that judgment go. Let that criticism go, the harshness, all of that. Now I just want you to imagine that this shadow self really needs a hug. They really need some love, because love heals everything. So just go ahead and reach out for your shadow self and give yourself a great big hug. And hold that shadow piece in your arms like you would hold a hurt child. Give it that biggest hug. Hold it tight like you would want to be held when you are crying. Take a deep breath. And as you allow your hug to release, you can accept and understand that you too have a shadow, and it is perfectly imperfect just the way you are. And as that shadow self reintegrates within you, know that it exists, and accept and love yourself just the way you are. Put that hand on your heart again and feel the energy from your hand spreading all over your body to encapsulate you in pure love, unconditional love for yourself. That you're just doing the best you can on any given day at any time. I invite you to smile at yourself and allow yourself to soak in that bubble of love that you've brought into yourself. And release anything that no longer serves you. Wiggle your toes and allow yourself to come back into your body now, loving and accepting yourself just the way you are.
Welcome back.
Well, it is Scorpio season. We have to go into the shadows.
Happy birthday, Scorpios.
Oh my. It is technically the darkest time of the year now, because our nights are dark, and as we get between Samhain, which is October 31st, between now and December 20th, 21st, we will experience the darkest days of our whole year because we live here on planet Earth. Unless, of course, you're in Australia, then the opposite is true. They are finally coming into the light. Although I've seen that it snowed there just yesterday, so, or whatever day. So anyway, so to the people that live in the Northern Hemisphere, I want to welcome you to Soulstrology for the week of November 6th through the 13th. And I'm going to share my screen so we can talk a little bit about the astrology and what's going on in the stars. I don't know, LeKross, you're welcome to share about the moon if you know anything, if you are up to date with what moon it is. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not up to date.
It's okay.
That's okay. The biggest thing about this week, the most important thing about this week, is that this is the week of the full moon, and this full moon falls on November 8th, and it is a full moon lunar eclipse, and it is a full eclipse here in North America. So if you remember, a couple of weeks ago, we had a partial solar eclipse that if you remember, I said the solar eclipse was full in Europe, but in North America it was just partially visible. And this one is, it will be visible in the early morning hours between Tuesday and Wednesday. Technically it would be Wednesday morning, I guess. So depending, of course, where you are on the planet will depend on when it is visible. But it will be a blood red moon, also known, as we were talking about, you do know, a couple of weeks ago we were talking about, it's the beaver moon.
Oh.
And it's also known as a harvest moon. So lunar cycles in general, when we reach the fullness of the moon, we want to give thanks. We want to give gratitude. And as the moon wanes, it's great to have releasing ceremony, letting go of anything that needs to let go of, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. And this right now, we're headed in, the beginning of the week, November 6th, we're headed into this really full energy. So it's exciting, and it's also, I guess exciting is really, I'm being very generous. It's dramatic. Eclipses are dramatic. You see things you didn't see before. Endings happen that you didn't see coming, or maybe you did. Eclipses are the ending energies and beginning energies. So the solar eclipse was beginning energy, and the lunar eclipse is ending energy. So pay attention to folks transitioning in your world. And it's a moon in Taurus. So we'll talk about that in a minute because, we got to start at the beginning, and the beginning of the week is November 6th. But I just have to say the big news of the week is you cannot avoid. It is the biggest news story of the week, Soulstrology speaking.
Yeah, the eclipses are pretty intense. And I always want to remind you that it can be a total eclipse of the heart. There's a reason for that saying. It means that you could change from one thing to the other, could suddenly flip completely over. It could be a temporary change or a permanent change, depending on what's going on. So if you've been trying to manifest something, that thing could come up, could finally manifest for you. Or if you've been doing something pretty easily and going along, now all of a sudden you might find yourself more challenged than you were before. Okay, so just be aware of that. And Venus is in a grand trine right now. I noticed that the femininity, Venus and Lilith, are both part of a grand trine along with Neptune and Pisces. And Venus and Lilith are both representations of, well, Venus tends to be the feminine planet. Most of us know it by the circle with the cross, right? Which is a sign for feminine or females, right? Okay. And Lilith is the powerful, independent feminist, okay? And Neptune tends to be a psychic planet, and it's in a grand trine on November 6th. So I would say that anyone that's doing any kind of tapping into psychic energies or anything like that, November the 6th is going to be a good day for you, especially if you are aligned with your moon cycle, or you are very much embracing your feminine side, okay? So those kinds of things will come up for you on the November 6th. And but on that day also, there's a lot going on that day. There are 2 T-squares. The one is involving the Pluto in Capricorn, and Pallas and Lilith over in Cancer, with Moon in Aries. So I'm going to suggest that any kind of physical action is going to help with that, okay? So you might feel like you're being pulled in 2 directions with maybe your strategies and things like that, and you're wanting to change. Maybe they're not going very easily. So the best way to engage that energy is to exercise in some way. Pluto is about death and rebirth, okay? And the other T-square is with Venus and Mercury and the Sun over in Scorpio, where I'm kind of like, they're just having a party over there. Venus, Mercury, and the Sun. Now, Venus is feminine, Mercury is about communication, and the Sun is where we're headed, okay? And they're all in Scorpio, and it's about transformation. You might be talking about transformation, but actually making that transformation happening, actually doing the revolutionary action of changing, might seem hard to grasp. And that's Uranus and Taurus, especially if you're talking about like maybe your gender transformation, or presenting in a different gender, or something revolutionary. It could be anything that's revolutionary, okay? And so those 2 energies are going to be pulling on each other. So you feel like you want to change, you're talking about wanting to change, but actually doing that change thing is not actually happening. Mm-hmm. So the best thing to do is to engage Saturn, okay? And Saturn is about foundation. So try to make it simple, try to make it easy, try to simplify it, try not to overcomplicate it. And I find when we tap into Saturn in any sign, Saturn is about simplifying the steps. Step 1, first you do this, then you do this. So like for me, losing weight is an important thing that I must do, okay? And I must work on it constantly. So I was thinking about, and I've been thinking about pulling on it, but the action wasn't actually happening. So instead I try to engage a small step that I can make towards that, okay? Like, let's just try to exercise 20 minutes a day, right? Okay. And so like, just try to simplify your thing, that whatever you need to change, just simplify it. And there are 2 yods on November 6th. So there's a lot of destiny going on that particular day, especially with Chiron and Ceres. And that has a lot to do with, Ceres is a lot to do with mothering, your mother, or the way you mother, or how you see mothering or nurturing. And Chiron, which is about inherited wounds that are hard to heal. But once you do heal them, you tend to be a wounded healer. So yeah, I have this wound, but I'm going to show you how to prevent it from happening to you, or how to heal it for you. And so it's going to involve that, as well as your communications in what you want to change, because it's, again, that Mercury in Scorpio. So Mercury in Scorpio can have 2 sides, just like all of us. The lighter side is when we go, I really need to lose weight, or I need to work on my exercise, or I need to do this to change myself. And that's Mercury in Scorpio. The shadow side is when we say something very sharp with our tongue, sarcastic or mean. That's Scorpio. Okay, that's Mercury in Scorpio. So just be careful about anything you say. And if you do say something, especially if it's based in truth, try not to give yourself too hard of a time. I mean, go ahead and apologize for whatever you said. But sometimes I noticed for me, I'll say something that's based in truth, not always in the nicest of ways, but it really, really, really needed to be said. And then I can go back and apologize, but it was actually kind of like somebody came up behind me and just pushed me and made me say it very quickly. So if that happens to you, recognize that maybe it needed to be said, okay? Even if it didn't come out in the nicest of manners. Because that's a very Scorpio trait, okay? And the other yod is the same Ceres and Chiron, okay, which is motherhood. And so if you're dealing with mom wounds right now, mothering wounds of either being a mother or mothering or nurturing or whatever happened to you and your mother, you know, Saturn in Aquarius is going to help you, and that's the divine masculine. So maybe we find ways that the system or the divine masculine helped us, especially things that are out of the box, different or unusual. Okay, so do you have anything to add for that, November 6th?
No, you covered it really well. The thing that I would add, if I was to say anything, is I'm really glad that we have a grand trine in there. Venus energy is going to be really important all of this week, because you're going to have the sun and the moon answering to Venus this week with the eclipse, because the eclipse, the full moon, is in Taurus. We'll get to that on the 8th. We'll get to that. We're getting there. I'm so excited.
Well, on the 7th, we have a very similar grand trine, right? With Venus in Scorpio, which can have, everything has a shadow side and a light side, if you want to say it that way. But everything can be in a good way or in a not so great way, okay? But the grand trine is usually a blessing that we take for granted, okay? It's the easy part. It's the easy thing. And it's involving Venus and Scorpio, which is can sometimes be deadly sexy or or really attractive, but not necessarily good for us. But it can also change us. It can make us flip and realize what is good for us. And it can also have a lot to do with truth around beauty and things like that, okay? Beauty and love. And Palace and Cancer in that same thing is about strategy, especially around your home, and things around emotions, internal emotions. So if you're finding yourself making some strategies for things on this day, fantastic. It's in a grand trine. Don't take that for granted. And psychics, you'll probably also find yourself still doing pretty good on this day, able to tap in. So this is a good day to schedule readings for yourself on November the 7th. The T-square will offer a little bit of challenge. Again, it will still be in the same way, the same challenge that I talked about yesterday, or for the day before, November the 6th. The biggest change on November the 7th will be that Lilith is going to just move into Leo, which is, yeah, but it's going to move into Leo on that day, later on in the day.
That moves fast.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I found on my thing. And I figured out that when Lilith moves into Leo, that it's going to be, it's a feminist thing, and it will push you into that fiery energy. So if there's some sort of feminist thing that you haven't been talking about, it might suddenly come flying out like a fireball. Okay, especially with your independence.
I was just going to say the women's vote this election on November 8th is hugely important, and everybody knows why. Hugely important. And look at how powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Leo is a pretty powerful sign, zodiac sign in general. And
I
Lilith.
just feel like we're
Lilith
going to
is-
collectively say, I
Yeah.
am woman, hear me roar, you know?
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much we're going to move into that energy just
Yeah.
in time for the election.
You know, Lilith into Leo. Yeah. I am woman, hear me roar.
Pretty much what's going to happen there.
She's a badass, yo. She gets it done. She does it like she sees it.
Yeah. Yeah, Lilith is a powerful energy.
Yeah.
All right. So did you have anything else for the 7th? Or is it more of the 8th?
I'm going to hold my tongue. Go ahead.
Until the 8th. Okay.
Here we go. Okay. So the other thing to talk about, the full lunar eclipse. I'm sure you have had an intense time this last few weeks. We've talked about it before, but it's worth reiterating, especially since we've seen a ton of yods already. And then you start to see things like kites and rectangles. These are fated energies. This is why it's great that you've given yourself the gift of listening to this report. Thank you so much for being with us. It means you're paying attention because a lot is going on that none of us have any control over. But there are opportunities, thank you, Hollis, for helping us see where they are, that we can all flow into. And so you will be feeling this intensity for 2 more weeks. So we feel it the 2 weeks going into eclipse season, then we have the solar eclipse, then the lunar eclipse, and the 2 weeks that follow the lunar eclipse. So if you're wondering, that's why. So the other thing is we have a big full moon. We have this big blood red beaver moon that is in Taurus. So what does that mean? Taurus is the sign of appreciation for the fine things in life. Taurus is trustworthy, affectionate, artistic. These are the really beautiful things about Taurus. And, you know, the careful with Taurus moon is careful on the obstinate, possessive, or being too rigid, or being a slave to a schedule, or a slave to anything. But Taurus, with the moon in Taurus, the moon is exalted. And so that means that it's really strong, it's really bright, it's beautiful. And Taurus is ruled by Venus. And so the moon and the sun in Scorpio all are answering to Venus. Venus is the exalted energy of the sky that is the big conversation leader. And so do something good for yourself. Do something that makes you feel good about you. Wear whatever it is that makes you feel comfortable, or give yourself something, do some self-care that makes you go, that was good. I'm really glad I took the time to fill in the blank, go for a walk, have a nice meal, get extra rest, talk to a friend, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ways you can really work the energy to a really, to its fullness. And the other thing that we're going to see here is that the moon is squaring Saturn in Aquarius. And so it's that same energy that we've been talking about. Saturn and Uranus have been squaring and going back and forth in conversation all of this last year, which is, what do you want? How are you going to change? What do you want? How are you going to change? You know, and a lot of things have to change. What are you going to do? And how do you want to go forward? So big energy and an opportunity to sort of work it for your best effect. If you know where your Taurus house is, that's what's going to get really lit up.
Yeah, especially with Uranus already there. Uranus is also in Taurus and has been there for a while. So just going to say that if you have some changing, some intuition coming on point, something like that, listen to it, okay? Because it's probably exactly what you need to do. And that's the thing. I want to say psychics and people that are paying attention to their intuition, this week is going to be particularly powerful. Follow your intuition. but be careful of old rigid ways of doing things. So be open to new ways of doing things, especially with all the Scorpio energy, okay? Because the Grand Trine is going to again bless the intuition. It's going to bring the intuition upwards, especially intuition that moves you into independence and strength and that has good strategies for love, okay? So, and including self-love. So if you're working on that kind of thing, the Grand Trine is going to help you, and Neptune can help you with that, especially if you follow your intuition, especially around the eclipse. On November 8th, it's particularly an eclipse, and if you're worried about politics, you should be. It's not my favorite subject, but I'm not going to avoid it because it would be like avoiding our shadow pieces, and that's not really the best thing to do. So, although half the time I would like to avoid it because I feel like there's nothing I can do, except I'm just going to say, make sure you vote, okay? I know a lot of us don't believe that our voting counts, but it's the one thing you can do, okay? Even if it doesn't count, at least you can say, well, I did the best I could, okay? And so just take some time to vote, and try to pay attention that there might be some illusions around some of the people that might be wanting you to vote for them. And if you're queer, I hope that you've been paying attention. Please don't vote for the people that hate us. If you love queers and you're an ally, please don't vote for the jackasses that want to take away our rights, please. If you love us, that's how you love us, by not voting for those people, okay? And whatever does happen on election day is fated. And
For sure.
For sure, and mostly because of that rectangle. You know, if you're born with a rectangle in your birth chart, I say everything you do is aligned with your destiny. Everything. Because a rectangle, or also known as a mystic rectangle, if you'd like to look it up, is all about certain challenges that you'll have throughout your life that will bring you to a point of creating some sort of life that is meant to change the world in some way. So whatever happens, it is meant to happen on that day, November the 8th. And the thing is that the United States is going through its Pluto returns. Well, what does that mean, Hollis? Well, that means that Pluto has returned to the same place it was when the United States was born. You know, you've heard the story. Some of it's probably true and some of it's probably a lie. And that's why we're questioning our country. That's why people are questioning democracy. That's why some people don't think that voting is real. That's why people think it's all corrupt. That's why you're witnessing everything that happened, including January the 6th, even if you're in denial about it. The fact that if you think January 6th was no big deal, the fact that a whole bunch of people do think it was a big deal is part of the Pluto returns. This split in our culture is part of the Pluto returns, because we as a people have to come back to our core. And Pluto often represents death and rebirth. Okay, so yeah, it does mean that the United States could come crumbling down. It also means that our systems could crumble. It also does. So don't get paranoid about it. Instead, do what you can to see that if it does change, that it changes in the direction you want it to change. Most of us queers are fairly liberal, progressive people. We want people to have their rights. We want Black people to be treated the way they should, treated equally like everyone else. We want our kids to be educated about what really happened in our history with Indigenous people and Black people and slavery. We want the truth to come out, most of us. So I'm just going to say that let's vote in that direction. So that's the one thing you have control over, okay? And if that doesn't, if some of the things are kind of disappointing on that day, just know that it's part of our transition. And sometimes things have to get worse in order for them to get better, okay? And so just keep moving towards what is better, okay? And that's my best advice on that day. There is a kite on November the 8th, which is going to be pretty intense. And so I usually tell you what to grab hold on the string, because the kite is literally like a kite in the sky, and it's going to be a whole bunch of crap taking off that you have no control over. But if you grab this one piece, it will help you. And so that one piece is going to be the Neptune in Pisces. So I'm going to say, follow your intuition. So if you are caught up in some sort of inappropriate violence or something like that, and you get the nudge from spirit to get the hell out of there, to get the fuck out of there, then get out of there. Leave. If you get an intuition not to get out of your car and drop your ballot there to go to the next drop box, then please do that, okay? Do what you have to do the right thing. Listen to your intuition. Listen. So meditation on that day, yoga on that day, even if it's just 5 minutes, do a couple forward bends, do a warrior to focus yourself, and then listen to your intuition for the rest of the day. That would be the most important thing you could do on November the 8th.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. So the eclipse, by the way, will happen at 16 degrees Taurus. And you can see in that T-square, Uranus at 16 degrees Taurus, and so is the sun, obviously. And I mentioned they all report to Venus. So when the moon conjuncts Uranus, Uranus is all about revolution. It is the sign of revolution. So you have the moon conjunct Uranus. That's why this election, we've never seen a full lunar eclipse on a US election day. And the whole thing just feels like, whoa, what's going to happen? So for me, I'm going to have to really keep myself busy in a good way so I'm not fretting. So Uranus is the planet of revolution. Neptune is the planet of dreams, and so it's sextile. Moon is sextiling Neptune. So it's really important that we don't fill ourselves with fear. It's really important that we can acknowledge it, set it aside, and then work in the direction of our dreams. What are your dreams? What are the things that are making you feel like, I feel so good about life when I do this? Focus on what are those things. That's what you really need to fill yourself with, because the world will tell you to fill yourself with fear. We're here to tell you there's hope. There's always hope. There's always rebirth. Mm-hmm. There is always a new beginning. One leads to the other. So big energy day. The 8th is a really big feeling day. And I would definitely work on your self-care and just take good care of yourself.
Yeah. And your intuition will help you a lot. It'll probably help you take care of yourself in whatever way you need to take care of yourself. And sometimes I think fear plays a role. It keeps us from, jumping off the bridge, right? Keeps us from doing things that are harmful to us. So, sometimes fear has its place. It has its place, but at the same time, we can't live in fear. And we just have to go one step at a time as the United States experiences these turns, these changes, these transformations. We've been going through them for quite some time. I'm sure some of you are aware that there are changes happening all the time. All kinds of things are changing in our government, and hopefully for the better, okay? So what I'm just suggesting is that you just try not to get caught up in the fear. Let it go, and then just be like, well, I'm doing all I can, and that's it. That's all you can do, and that's all any of us can do. Okay. And I feel like it's easy to get afraid of the politics right now. They scare me. So, and that I will fully admit that our government and the politics and the other, what I would consider the other side, scares me. I'm not real keen to have a whole bunch of people running around with guns. Okay. So the next day is, so if we make it through November 8th, I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. But it continues to be fated. But we will again still have that grand trine going on. So I want to still say, psychics, this week, really connect with water. You really want to connect a lot with water. So if you're a psychic and you're feeling super sensitive, or you're a sensitive empath type of person, I was trying to think of a highly sensitive person, an HSP, get a shower, get in the shower, get in the tub, really engage your water this week. Okay. Even if you just take a little water and rub it on your third eye, rub it on the back of your neck, you'll find that that's actually more cleansing than you thought. And if you can put a little salt in it, that will really help cleanse things for you. If you feel like, gosh, I just walked through that store and I feel like somebody ooged all over me, then just grab a little bit of salt water and just rub it on the back of your head and your forehead, and you'll feel more clear, more clean, particularly salt water. And the T-square will still be kind of in the same way, with Venus ruling it, and Uranus, Saturn pulling on it. So Uranus is opposite of Venus, Mercury, and the Sun, okay, over there in Scorpio. And this has been going on all week, and they're pushing and pulling. So you just want to engage that Saturn in Aquarius, which is doing things out of the box. The Yod in Mars in Gemini and Pluto in Capricorn, Venus in Scorpio. I'm just going to say, make sure that if you have grandma in the nursing home, or someone else that's suffering towards the end of their life, just tell them you love them. Okay. Especially earlier in the week. Just make sure you say, I love you to those people that you love. Make sure you express that, because if it is time for them to go, now would be the time. Okay. And this is especially for people that and this could be a release for some people. Some people have been suffering. I was just talking to a woman that is suffering with cancer, right? Okay. And she's wondering when she's going to die, right? Okay. Because at some point, if you're suffering with something for a long time, it can kind of feel like, all right already, okay? And if you've ever walked that path with someone, it's okay to feel that. It's okay to feel the release when they do finally pass. I'm not saying we want someone to die, but I'm saying sometimes it's a release. It's like, oh, that's over, okay? Like grandma with dementia in the nursing home, right? Okay? So just saying, make sure earlier in the week you make an effort to stop by, and just tell them you love them. Okay? Make sure that you say what you need to say. And because November the 9th, with that Mars in Gemini, Pluto in Capricorn, and Venus in Scorpio, could be the end of things, not just lives, but it could be the end of other things. So if something else is ending, because Mars is retrograde, so it's going to pull it inwards, about action inwards. So it could be a great letting go of things. Pluto in Capricorn, Pluto is about death and rebirth, which I mentioned, and then Venus is about love and beauty, and femininity. And so, that could also affect the way we feel love.
Right. So I totally agree with you. Express your love. Can do no wrong when you express your love. When the moon reaches 26 degrees Taurus, it'll be in a trine with Pluto. So moon trine Pluto, again, we could have a blessed goodbye, right? We could have a beautiful letting go transition ceremony of some kind, if that was what was is going on in someone's life. It could be sweet. It doesn't always have to be tragic.
Right.
All of us at some point transition.
Yeah.
So you know,
Could
death is what it is. What's that?
Could it also be letting that person go peacefully, in a sense, like, in other words, with love, but not like, there could be some relationships, whatever, that were bad, and you could let it go, but let it go peacefully, like have some closure.
Nice.
Could it also be something like that?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great way
any
to look
kind
at
of
it.
closure of any kind of thing, like any kind of especially internally, you know, because Mars is retrograde in Gemini, and so it could also make you see something differently. So you may have seen it as a tragic thing, and then you're like, well, I don't know, and you may switch the way you think of it because of Gemini and Scorpio influence. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Do you have anything else for the 9th? No?
Nope.
Okay. The 10th. Again, we are in that grand trine again. So psychics, we're still floating high here this week. Okay. So if you're doing readings, keep doing them. Just make sure you're taking care of yourself. Get yourself in some water. Okay. If you can have access to natural hot springs or a flowing river or something like that, go put your feet in the river. Okay. And the T-square is also the same one that's been going on throughout the week, you will notice. And again, just try to apply out of the box strategies. Okay. That yacht again is pointing to an internal change, Mars and Gemini. Okay. So pay attention to where Mars is in your chart and where Gemini is. Particularly where Mars is in your chart, because or where Gemini is in your chart, because Mars is there right now and it's going retrograde and it's going to become part of this yod. So it's going to make you turn inwards on some actions or something like that. So just be aware of, like, if you start thinking of something differently or something like that. Mm-hmm.
So on the 10th, the moon moves into Gemini. And just for a reminder about Gemini, Gemini has a lot of wit and charm. They're great networkers. They're very lively, amusing. They can often be the life of the party. They're very versatile. They can wear lots of different hats. And on the challenging side for them, sometimes they can get disorganized, be inconsistent, and potentially be manipulative. Remember, Gemini is the twins. So personal experience on this one. You're working with somebody and they're showing you one side of them and everything's good and it's good and it's good. And then all of a sudden one day it's not good. And like another person shows up and you're like, whoa, that's Gemini. It's the twins. Things can change with them. It definitely can change. So Gemini moon, this Gemini moon is definitely, we're going to be coming up to Jupiter. When it gets to Jupiter, it'll have to get to the end of Gemini. It'll conjunct Jupiter at 29 Pisces. And in the meantime, in Gemini, it's going to go right over that Mars. And so that's where I'm sort of warning on the Mars retrograde and the moon passes over Gemini, what that conversation might be like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with the moon there, that's why it's definitely probably some emotional, internal, maybe some realizations about yourself. You could definitely have some realizations like, I keep sabotaging the shit out of myself, okay? So if you're suddenly realizing that you're inconsistent or consistently sabotaging oneself or something like that, pay attention, okay? Because Mars is trying to point that out to you.
Yeah.
Okay?
And there's an opportunity because the moon is trining Saturn and Neptune. So we've talked about Saturn is the sort of the father figure, discipline, structure, infrastructure. Neptune, dreams, sometimes illusions. So paying attention to your dreams, your daydreams, who shows up in your dreams. If you do have someone show up in your dreams and you need some help with your dream interpretation, what should you do?
You can email us.
LeKross, what should you do?
Let's send it my way. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, so what's the email if you want to get dream interpretation? Because they're literally these next 2 weeks you could have some real incredible dreams showing up. And if you need some help with dream interpretation, LeKross is incredibly talented in that department.
Yep.
So send an email to...
Well, they can go to RainbowSoul.show, and there'll be several ways to contact us.
There you go. Just saying.
You can even comment on this video if you're on Facebook or YouTube or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I literally put a star around the dreams and you. So...
Thanks.
So that's the 10th.
And with Lilith also going retrograde that day, it's definitely going to be about internal freedom. It's going to be about recognizing what you have to do for yourself to untie yourself. Because sometimes we tie ourselves up in knots and we get confused. So I'm just going to say, with Lilith going retrograde that day, if you start internalizing things and looking inward, you're on the right track. Just keep looking inward and figuring out what it is you need to change. Okay?
Yeah. 1111, magic number.
Well, it'll be a very fated day, if nothing else.
Sure.
We'll still continue to have the grand trine, but now the sun will have joined it, and we'll still have Lilith and Pallas and Venus all involved, all that femininity. And we'll have Mercury in Scorpio, which is, again, that communication style that can sometimes either be about talking about the changes you want to have, or being self-critical, or using your language in a not very nice way. So just be careful. But you can, if you happen to be a psychic or something like that, I know there's lots of psychics that listen to this. If you happen to be helping people, especially if you're helping people transform, counselors, psychics, and the such, Mercury in Scorpio will help you, okay? Just try to not, if you get frustrated, make sure you take care of yourself, do some sort of self-care. Hopefully, if you're in that position, you have an active self-care habit, and you know how to take care of yourself. So Mercury in Scorpio, that will definitely help you carry your visions forward with that Neptune and Pisces, because Neptune is kind of the psychic planet, and Pisces is one of the more psychic signs. Scorpio is also a very psychic sign, but Scorpio tends to see the truth even if no one else is seeing it in the moment. Okay, so you might find yourself channeling the truth, especially if you're a verbal channeler or a writer. Okay, so this is a great week for that. And the T-square is going to be very similar. Just keep engaging whatever's out of the box. And the yod is still pointing to Mars, but Mercury will come to dance within it. Mercury in Scorpio and Venus in Scorpio will have one side of it. And that will be because, that will be, again, what you're saying and how are you bringing transformation. So I also want to mention that if you're trying to transform yourself, let's just say you're trying to lose weight, okay? Don't say I'm fat to yourself every day, because you're just going to get bigger, okay, my friend? Instead, you might want to say I'm losing weight every day. I'm eating healthy every day. I'm exercising every day. So you want to change what you're saying to yourself, and that will help you transform. If you're working on your mental health, I am becoming more stable every day. I am clearing my trauma with my yoga every day. Okay? If you say those things, your brain will listen and do those things. There's science to prove it, that this is called cognitive behavior therapy or cognitive behavior techniques. These are very common. They've been used since the 90s, 80s. We know that whatever you tell yourself is what you believe. So if you're saying mean things to yourself, beware, because you're going to bring that forth. You're going to bring that into your life, and you're going to truly believe what you say. So your heart and soul believes what your brain thinks. So just try to change your thoughts, friends. One of the ways that I found to get rid of negative thoughts was to write them all down and then burn them in a fire. Burn them in a fire with some herbs like star anise, especially if you ask right now is a great time to ask your ancestors for help. So you can say, please, ancestors, take these self-sabotaging beliefs away from me, and you wrote them all down on a piece of paper. Crumble up the piece of paper or rip it into little pieces, and then throw it into a controlled fire in a controlled way, and with maybe some herbs like star anise, kapal, or even some other like clearing type herbs that clear. Those can be really helpful. And then you also want to use stones like malachite will remove negativity. So I would suggest holding this up to your throat or your third eye to remove negative thoughts.
So 11/11, the moon is still in Gemini, but it will be a void moon. It would be a weak moon. And by the evening, by nighttime, depending on where you are, it'll move into Cancer. And, 11/11, you have you have these, the finger of God, the yod, the trine, the T-square. The moon on the 10th is in a trine with Saturn and Neptune, and on the 11th, it's in a square. So what was flowing on the 10th might feel a little more challenging on the 11th with Saturn and Neptune. So just kind of good to get that in your noggin, so to speak. If there's a tough conversation that has to happen, maybe don't do it on the 11th because Jupiter, makes things bigger. And Neptune, a square with Neptune in Pisces, illusion, challenges,
You could find that maybe you're a little too, if you're a psychic or something, you could find that you're maybe a little too harsh on your sitters. Or if you're trying to do some sort of intuitive practice, it could be greatly affected by some illusions you have about yourself. Yeah.
So that's the 11th.
Mm-hmm. And the 12th is some more destiny for all of us. We continue on with that grand trine, right? And things move a few degrees, but really we're still in a grand trine with all of those planets: the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Lilith, Pallas, and Neptune. The grand trine is a blessing. It is something we'll take for granted. So there could be some things going really easy, but it could mean the grand trine all week long actually could also mean that people will take for granted their illusions. So like that show we were watching last night about some people that believe and engage in conspiracy theories won't question them.
No.
So don't waste your energy trying to change someone's mind about a conspiracy theory or something that they're engaged in or a belief system that they have. Just let them have it and just be like, okay, and get your space. It's probably not worth your energy, especially with Neptune and Pisces, because Pisces is sometimes delusional and so is Neptune. So I would say that although it will bless people like psychics and stuff, it can also make people that are engaged in conspiracy theories, fake news, and whatnot, to continue to believe their illusions. It will be hard to break that spell.
Yeah,
okay.
People will believe what they want to believe, and that's really what they showed, was how people will dig in, not get curious, just dig in. So on the 12th, we have Cancer, the moon in Cancer. It's come home to its home sign, Cancer. And Cancer, of course, can be imaginative, which can be great, sympathetic. Cancer's protective. It's can be tenacious. It's very loyal. It's all about home, right? The crab carries its home on its back. On the challenged side, it can be possessive. It can get They can be moody, critical, self-pitying, and those are both sides of the Cancer moon. So let's focus on the imaginative, the sympathetic and protective Cancer in its home sign. The other thing about this that is interesting is that it's sextile the North Node. You want to tell them about the North Node?
The North Node is about your destiny. It's where you're headed. It's where you're going. Everyone has a North Node. Everyone has a destiny of some sort of thing that you are put here on Earth to master, do, or bring forth, depending on where the North Node is in your chart. So what is sextiling it?
Yeah,
the moon, right?
The moon is sextiling the North Node, and it's also sextiling Uranus. So I'm wondering, they have said numerous times that we probably won't know the results of the election right away. So I'm wondering if we're going to know, we'll know by the 12th what's really going on.
Right. So maybe by the 12th, some news will come forth about that. With the moon sextiling it, that would actually be an emotional relief or an emotional blessing. But you said it's sextiling Uranus too.
Uranus, and it's squaring Chiron, which is also where I'm like,
okay.
More painful lessons could be happening.
There could be some painful lessons. And so maybe I won't be surprised if it kind of goes both ways. There'll be some states that vote in some people that still engage in conspiracy theories, while some other places will hopefully be a little bit smarter than that.
Yeah,
be able to see through the illusion. Yeah, and be able to see through the illusion of what's going on in our politics. Now, the rectangle and the yod on the 12th also indicate that there'll be some faded energy on those days.
For sure.
With the rectile, the Neptune and Pisces.
Rectangle.
In the rectangle with Neptune and Pisces in there. That and Uranus and Taurus, that's very revolutionary. Yep. And it makes me think that the destiny is actually about the fake news, that we have to change. We have to stop people from spreading BS. And I think that might come up by the 12th. I'm going to call it that it happens this week, that we actually start presenting ideas about how to control that. I hate to control people, but you have to do something about the bullshit that's spread. Like, I don't know if y'all have checked in on what some people believe in, but they believe in some really weird out there shit. I heard a woman say that on November the 6th or January the 6th, that what you seen on TV and in the news was actually created by a movie guy. She actually believed that more than she believed that it was actually people trying to overturn our government. And I was like, wow, you watched one too many movies, honey. And so I just want to say, some people really believe some really out there stuff. Okay, some really, really out there stuff that if you heard it, you might be really surprised. Okay?
So the hope is with Mars in retrograde, by definition, it is time to reflect. Gemini's air, it's thinking. So I'm hoping, this is my move in the direction of your dreams. What I'm hoping is that people start reflecting, start gathering information, start paying attention, and waking the heck up, so that there's a shared reality of truth that we can agree on, at least in some small part. But right now, the division feels like wow, we can't even agree on reality.
Mm-hmm.
So let's hope that this fated time comes to a wake up and an awareness and a realization of let's create the world we want to live in, and that we move in the direction of being better humans, period.
So I wouldn't be surprised if on this day, maybe the government or some of the people that make the rules around here might actually make a rule or a law or present the idea of a law that helps control the BS, the bullshit out there, because there is some crazy weird bullshit out there, friends. So that would be great if somebody did that, in my opinion. That would help change things. Yeah, more fact checking, exactly.
Yeah, I just never thought I would see what we've seen in the last number of years. It's just staggering to me. And I remember being the naive college student that thought, wow, if we just presented enough information and facts to people, everyone could get along. We can all see the facts. Here's the truth. You know, wow, that naive college girl, my, there, you know. I really was a believer in, the truth will set you free. So, yeah, it's been kind of a astonishing, absolutely astonishing series of years where the truth has been treated, I want to say, like a football. And I feel like with what we've been seeing with Lilith, the Uranus-Saturn squares, the potency of this eclipse energy and all the yods, we are at a time of reckoning. We are at a time of things are going to go one way or another, but they're not staying in the middle.
No, things are going to change one way or another. So if you're wanting change, it's going to happen. And on the 13th, I'm just going to say on the 13th, it's going to kind of go crazy. When I seen this on the 13th, I was like, oh my God. So the Grand Trine is a blessing. Okay. But the castles are really a lot about putting in a structure. They can sometimes mean about putting up walls or defenses, separating ourselves from things that no longer serve us. There will be lots of oppositions on this day. And of course, it's very fated with the 2 rectangles on the day, on the 13th, and the T-square. And the 3 cradles are very much about our comfort and finding the best comfort we can find. So if you have something going on the 13th, I'm going to suggest that you find a way to engage your comfort. So the comfort is probably going to be with the moon in Cancer. For most of these, it's going to be about emotional balance, trying to sort of comfort yourself, literally try to see it in that way, try to see a way of comforting yourself. Put yourself in the bathtub, stay home, do something. Yeah. Like, do something, like if you're like, should I do this or stay home? Stay home. Do something comfortable. Watch a movie on the couch, or
I think it's the 13th is a Sunday, so do Sunday things.
Yeah, don't be afraid to really engage your comfort level that day. It will be quite important. So do whatever you have to do to comfort yourself that day, because I thought it was important that we mention this on the 13th. This is a day that you're definitely going to need to comfort yourself. It could feel very separating. Things could start to happen that create a lot of opposition and a lot of separation, especially with 2 castles and all those oppositions. Okay, so I don't know really what's going to happen. If you asked my psychic Hollis what's going to happen on the election, I'm going to say it's probably not going to be the easiest. Okay.
I keep getting mixed bag. But hasn't it been like that? Just a mixed bag.
but I'm pretty sure we're heading in the direction that we need to head. It doesn't mean it's going to be the end of the world. So I'm not going to say that the apocalypse is going to happen, that, that some crazy guy in Russia is going to blow us all up or something. What's probably going to happen is more political bullshit that gives us all a headache. And, we'll probably have to, there might be some people that are engaged in activities that separate. So make sure you're not engaging in those. Make sure you don't get accidentally pulled into an illusion, and just take care of yourself. Self-care every day of this week, especially around the election. The politics can be very stressful to trans and queer people, especially our trans and queer friends in Texas and Florida. I send big love to you. I'm sorry. I hope that we figure out a way that you can stay where you live and still live freely. Otherwise, you might need to leave that area. And I'm just going to be honest with you. I foreseen it years ago. Our country could have a split, okay? And here I am, I'm saying it again. Our country could split, and I'm not the only one saying it now. I don't feel like such a weirdo. But our country could have some splits. So if you are in one of those places and you're going, I think I might need to move, I agree, okay? If you're in a place that you feel like is not safe for you anymore and you'd like to figure out a way to move, I'd like to see you move. Because I don't want those things to happen to you, okay? There is separation. I'm not going to deny it. That's why I started this thing about embracing our shadow selves, okay? I'm not going to deny what is obvious to me as a psychic. I'm here to tell you the truth and what I feel and sense. I feel that the separation is coming, okay? So some of our country could be separated.
I'm
go ahead.
curious. Now, we were saying that the moon, what is that word?
Lunar eclipse.
The lunar eclipse. It's going to linger for a couple
the energy
weeks
of it. Yeah, 2 weeks.
So now a lunar eclipse is basically, I want to go to basic science. It's basically the sun illuminating the shadow, the moon. Okay. And
if Earth is passing between the two, and the shadow's passing over the moon.
So, just hypothetically here. So right now at this point, I think what's going to happen is the shadow of people, the ugly of people, is really going to be illuminated. And I don't know if, because that's what I'm getting from it. The ugly of people is really going to be illuminated. And at the end, we have to preserve ourselves and protect ourselves and make sure we don't allow that shadow to infiltrate.
Yeah.
So, as scary as it is, but I think people need to get into self-preservation mode, especially us queer people. We need to get into self-preservation mode. I'm not saying cut everybody out. I'm just saying be aware, be ready to protect yourself, and don't be afraid to put that wall up between you and some of these people. I don't know. This is what I'm thinking or getting out of it. So.
And if you do live in a place that you need to go back in the closet, we love you just the way you are. It's okay to hide in the closet. Totally get it. I hid in the closet for a while.
And it's a safe place.
And if you need to go back in the closet to preserve your life, please do. Please. I'd rather have you alive and in the closet, okay, than dead and out. Okay? So I'm sorry, it's that cut and dry, but it is. I love all of you. I believe that all the queers in the world have a right to be queer and out and to be themselves 100%. But not everybody agrees with me, and I don't run this country. I'm not sure I'd want to. I might do a better job, but I don't know. I don't know about that. It's a scary thing to even think about, and I'm sorry for the people that are in that position. We live in a world that feels uneasy, and but we're going to get through this, okay? The apocalypse, I have foreseen that although there will be a huge change for all of us, especially Americans, it doesn't mean it's the end. Like, we're not going to like wake up to like, all the post-apocalyptic movies you've seen on. It's not going to be like that. It's
Same Hollywood.
Oh man, I want to drive like Mad Max.
Right? Oh my goodness. That's probably not going to happen.
No.
But what will happen is some changes, and eventually those changes will lead us to a better place. So even if sometimes it feels like we took 3 steps back, I want you to know that eventually we are going to always be moving forward, because that is in itself human nature. Okay? So,
Let's hope so.
could be a little bit of a rough ride, and I hope I'm completely wrong about my foreseeing of what will happen with our country in the next coming month or so, or whenever it's going to happen. I'm not always good at timing. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope I'm wrong. Let me just say that, okay?
I hope we become better humans every day.
That would be great.
I'm going to focus on what we need to do instead of all the,
Right.
Become
Yeah.
a better human, just for today. You can say that to yourself every day. Just for today, I'll be a better human.
Now, I'm going to pull 3 cards just now for you, and I want you to just think about everything that I said. Please take what you like. Take what resonates with you. If you need to feel like someone else in the world understands your psychic sense, your intuition about what's about to happen there around the election, I just told you. I totally resonate with you. I totally get it. And I think some people need that validation because they're sitting at home scared thinking they're crazy, and they're not. Okay? So I want to say that those people that you're feeling that in your belly, I'm here. I hear you. But we're going to get through this. I've asked my spirit guides to show me what will happen. Okay, well, what happens after all that? Then they say, oh, it gets better. It gets better. So yeah, things will fall apart, but then the people will rebuild in a better way. Okay? And that's interesting because that's exactly what we're about to see here in our tarot reading. Because in the past we have had, I think I can like make my screen bigger. There we go. In the past we've had the balance between nature and humanity. And that's exactly what this is to remind you of. That in the past, humans have lived perfectly well along with nature in perfect harmony. Ask the indigenous people. They know all about it. Okay, and that's what this is a reminder of how we live in nature. Remember even in 2020 when the world shut down, how Mother Nature started to come back. And that's exactly what this is all about. Okay? And the interesting thing is that's about the past and the reminder of the past. And this is for the now. This is about where are we going now? What choices are we making now? So I find this interesting that this is coming up around the election, because this is very much about the choices we make and how we make those choices and how those choices affect everyone else and how we affect the world around us and how our partnerships and our how we team up with people, all of those things affects the world around us, and including nature, okay, including Mother Nature. So all of those things from the past are now, this is a reminder of how your choices will affect not only yesterday, today, and tomorrow, okay? Because going forth into the future, we will have some work and rebuilding to do, but we will do it in our best way possible, because a lot of us are very gifted and talented. And a lot of us have huge love and compassion in our hearts and an ability to see an equal world, to see how we could all live in equality and to bring forth our best selves, our best work. That's exactly what this is all about. This is about getting your hands dirty while you build the most beautiful work you have, okay? Presenting your best work to the world. That's exactly what this card is, okay? And so if you think about it, from the past, we have had our harmony with nature, and right now, right here and now, we are making choices about where that will take us and how it will affect others, and how we will learn to live in harmony with each other. Make those choices, go out and vote, at least do something, because there's probably not much else you can do, and at least you can say, well, I at least voted. Okay? And going forward into the future, be prepared to get your hands dirty, because that means that we're going to have to figure out some way to show our best selves to the world, to bring forth our best ideas about all living in harmony with each other and being able to harmonize not only with each other, but also with Mother Nature. And so that's exactly what this is all about. So my friends, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that you can take what you like, leave the rest, and try to remember that even in challenging times, beautiful things can happen. Even in and I think 2020 is a great example of that. I don't know about you, but I thought it was pretty beautiful to see some of the things that we've seen happening in nature. Mm-hmm. I thought that was pretty darn awesome. So just always remember that, and just remember that even in hard times, beautiful things can happen.
All right.
Flowers grow from shit.
Yeah, that's right. Especially holy shit. It's the compost of life.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
All right, my friends. Thank you for liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing our podcast on your timeline, or sharing it with your friends or other people that might be interested. Please share this podcast with your friends. And please come back and listen next week for Soulstrology Forecast.
And if you have any dreams, send them in to LeKross. Just saying.
Yep.
Send them over to RainbowSoul.show. If you go to the website, there's numerous ways to contact us through there. And of course, you can always just comment wherever you're watching this.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Hollis. You did an amazing job. You really have an amazing way of reading the cards, reading the stars. So pleasure to be with you.
Thanks. And thank you, LeKross, for all you do.
Thank you. And thank you. I always got something new I'm learning. I may be quiet, but I'm absorbing. I'm a sponge.
You're absorbing. I find that's the best way to learn astrology is to listen to forecasts. So if you're learning astrology, just keep listening, keep tuning in, and things will slowly start to make sense. You'll be like, wait a minute, I know what a grand trine is.
Eventually, it does come together.
Yep.
It's a great big sky, and there's a lot to learn. Oh, my.
I'm still learning astrology.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will see you all next week.
Many thanks.
Blessings.
Thank you for listening to this week's Soulstrology and subscribing, liking, sharing, and reviewing. We hope you enjoy this dose of Soulstrology and encourage you to embrace the week ahead with an open mind and heart so that you may integrate the deepest of lessons from the stars. Take a moment to step outside and honor the planets, stars, and moon in the sky with your heart. Integrate the messages that resonate and leave the rest for someone else. We deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Always remember that you are a perfectly unique human with an exclusive star map of your destiny, your soul purpose, and your heart's desire. Thank you again for tuning in to Rainbow Soul.